To the No DQ live recap of WWE NXT for June the 15th, 2021. We are coming off the NXT TakeOver in Your House pay-per-view. Shout out to everybody watching this live, whether it's live or on demand. I appreciate your viewership and support. Let's go ahead and get started with this recap of NXT. We kicked off with a video package, highlights of the In Your House pay-per-view event. And we started off strong. At the end of the In Your House pay-per-view, William Regal, the commissioner, the general manager, whatever they're calling him, he teased the idea that there might be some change. Regal came down to the ring and he was very emotional. He talked about how he has been in NXT since the beginning. He talked about the growth of the brand, talked about how they went everywhere with NXT from San Jose to New Orleans to Portland. He talked about NXT even going to Blackpool, and his family was there for that. He talked about the chaos in recent weeks and said that he felt he has given everything he can, and he doesn't think he's capable of giving the people what they deserve any longer. TGS says great acting by Regal, very convincing. Colin Andrews says nice promo by Regal. Israel Diaz says Regal still has it. I agree. Regal was fantastic here. And just when it sounded like he was about to announce his retirement, we had an interruption from the reigning and defending NXT World Champion Karrion Kross, along with Scarlett, and he basically trash-talked to Regal, said he knew this moment was coming. He had to see it and hear it right there in the ring. He then asked Regal if Regal was crying. Regal, of course, was getting emotional, and Kross referred to Regal as completely pathetic. And all Kross wanted at this point was for Regal to say that Kross was right all along. And that's when we had the music hit. He's back, ladies and gentlemen. The rumors and innuendo, it was true. Samoa Joe, 2 months to the day after being released from WWE, made his return, and Regal said that he had an offer for Samoa Joe to become the new general manager of NXT. Joe responded by saying, absolutely not. Joe said he has too much respect for Regal and all of Regal's accomplishments. They're big shoes to fill. And Joe said he would, however, be more than happy to help out Regal and make sure that Regal gets the respect that he deserves. Regal said that that would be fine. However, if Joe was going to be in that role, Joe would not be able to be a competitor and could not lay a hand on anybody unless he is provoked. Kind of reminds me of Steve Austin as the general manager back in 2003. Austin could not touch anybody unless he was provoked first. Joe accepted this offer, and he got in Karrion Kross's face, and he said, "Tick-tock, young champion." He ordered Kross to leave the ring, and that's what Kross did. Really strong opening segment here. Very happy to see Samoa Joe back. And it doesn't appear that he is cleared, at least for now. But hey, this is something different for him. I enjoyed his work as a commentator on Raw. But if he's not going to be doing that and he's not wrestling, I think this is the next best thing for him to be in NXT. Regal is still in charge, so I like the pairing of Regal and Samoa Joe. Joe basically being the muscle for Regal. And who knows? Maybe one day Joe gets cleared. I will say this, on this show, there were several teases with Samoa Joe and various NXT guys. Maybe, just maybe one day Joe will get cleared and we'll have some matches. But if not, Joe's doing something, staying in the mix, and he could also work with some of the guys behind the scenes in NXT. Seems like a positive for everybody involved. And we had a promo from the Grizzled Young Veterans hyping up their main event match against Tommaso Ciampa and Timothy Thatcher, Toothless Timmy as they're calling him. The veterans said that there are no tags in this match, it's Tornado rules, and thus there will be no excuses. Hamp Connor with a $2 super chat. Thank you, Hamp. First one of the evening says, glad Regal is staying. Always been a bright spot. I agree. I like what they're doing here, getting Joe involved in an authority figure role, but also keeping Regal around. I'm definitely happy about that instead of just getting rid of Regal completely. Regal really nailed it with his promo this week. Very well done from him. We had our first match of the evening, which was Imperium versus Breezango. No intro for Breezango, and surprisingly enough, they won the match. Tyler Breeze got the hot tag, and then he pinned Ackner with the inside cradle, but then he got beat up for his troubles after the match. Imperium took a flag or a banner with their name on it and draped it over Breeze. So it's a feud I really don't care much about. It was okay, but it felt like a Raw feud where the heels lose and then the heels attack the guys after the match, and didn't really do much to elevate either team, in my opinion. Kind of felt like filler. It was okay. Backstage, we had Adam Cole and Kyle O'Reilly brawling, and Regal was trying to separate these guys. It was announced that they will face off again in 3 weeks at the Great American Bash special edition of NXT. Samoa Joe showed up because this was the whole problem that Regal was having with not being able to keep Law and Order. Samoa Joe was trying to break these guys up, and Adam Cole shoved Joe. And again, like the Steve Austin 2003 general manager storyline, Joe was provoked. He was physically touched. So Joe took off his jacket and he choked out Adam Cole. Again, this feels like a tease. If Joe does get cleared, you got a setup here for Joe versus Cole if that's a possibility down the line. So good stuff here with them. Joe already making a mark in NXT. I like it. We then had a promo from Santos Escobar talking about his loss at the pay-per-view, but said that nobody puts him through a wall, which is what happened courtesy of Bronson Reed. He said he will be coming for Reed's North American title in a one-on-one match. And to respond to Darren in the chat room, I loved William Regal in WCW. He was always great at whatever he did. He was never my favorite, I will say that, but I always felt that he was very solid in the ring and could provide some entertaining moments, whether it was the real man's man or doing the brass knuckles, the power of the punch. He always provided entertainment. TJS with a $5 super chat. Thank you, Tyler. And by the way, Tyler, I appreciate you plugging No DQ on Reddit. I saw one of your posts on there. And again, if you guys are enjoying these videos, please do me a favor and share them. Share. Reddit, Twitter, Facebook, anywhere you go where you chat about wrestling, post a link to this video. It really goes a long way, because if you could just get one person to start watching these videos, and if several people did that, it helps. Every little bit helps. So anyways, TGS's super chat says, with Joe coming back, I wonder how many other of Triple H's prospects will return to NXT. I know Black maybe even released Joe in the first place if back already. Why even release Joe in the first place? As far as Joe, why he was cut, I think it was probably because they wanted to shake up the announce team and Joe was not cleared. And WWE was paying Joe main roster money. And if they're not going to use him for announcing, they're not going to use him as a wrestler, you know, it's a financial decision. I'm guessing he's not making what he was making before, but it's a pretty easy gig and he's still involved. He's still able to do things and make a difference. So TV time is important, as they say. Even if it's NXT, it's still TV time. And Hamp Connor with a $5 super chat. Thank you, Hamp. He says, the obvious match to do with Cole and O'Reilly after what happened after their unsanctioned match is a stretcher match. Haven't seen that in a while. Yeah, it's really interesting to see what they're going to do to top that last match. They went all out in that unsanctioned match. So where do you go from here? Do you do a stretcher match? Do you do a cage match? Like, what are they going to do? At this point, I don't think they announced any stipulation, but I guess we'll see what they do. We've yet to see a Hell in a Cell match. What about a cage fight? Although I'm not sure if that would fit with their styles, but I've enjoyed the cage fights that we've seen in NXT up to this point. Psycho Jet Black with a $2 super chat. Thank you for that. Says, should we share even on TikTok, Tout, and Pornhub? Sure, Psycho Jet Black. If you want to share it on Pornhub, by all means, go ahead. You have my permission. We had a newcomer who recently signed with NXT, Trey Baxter, versus Kushida, and Kyle O'Reilly was on the stage because earlier Regal said that on next week's NXT, Kyle O'Reilly and Adam Cole would have individual competition prior to their match at the Great American Bash. So Kyle was out there to watch this. Trey Baxter looked pretty good. I mean, standard cruiserweight stuff, you know, Spanish flies and 450 splashes, you know, flashy stuff, but a lot of guys do it. We'll see if he continues to break out of the pack in the coming weeks. He did have a good showing, but Kushida picked up the victory with the hoverboard lock. And then afterwards, Kyle applauded him, shook his hand, and issued a challenge for next week. So next week, it's going to be Kyle O'Reilly versus Kushida. We still don't know who Adam Cole will be facing on next week's show. We then had my personal favorite segment of the evening, Ted DiBiase presenting the $1 Million Championship to LA Knight. And there was a video package for LA Knight. He arrived in a fancy car with a cigar, and he talked about how he was banged up, but it was 100% worth it. DiBiase was a fixture of his childhood. He thanked DiBiase, shook his hand, said it was the greatest moment of his wrestling career, and asked to be crowned the new champion. And I'm thinking to myself here at this point, something has to happen. We need to see something happen here. LA Knight needs to beat the crap out of DiBiase. Like, what's up with this goody two-shoes promo? Like, it's got to be leading to something. So anyways, DiBiase gets the title, gives it to LA Knight, and the pyro goes off, and then LA Knight said he's not done yet. He kept talking, and that's when I was like, all right, something's going to happen here. LA Knight said that he has everything he wants now. So it's time to drop everything he doesn't need. And that's when he hauled off, punched Ted DiBiase. DiBiase took a back bump, and LA Knight just stomped the mud hole in him, said he's the only true $1 Million champion. And I have to tell you guys, I popped for this. When he punched DiBiase, I was like, yeah, I love this. This is what you call good heat. You watch some of these segments on Monday Night Raw, and a lot of them are bad heat. It's turn off the TV heat. This was good heat, because as this was happening, I'm like, you son of a bitch, LA Knight. What a bastard you are to do this. And I wanted to see Cameron Grimes come out there and kick this guy's ass. And sure enough, Cameron Grimes runs down, makes the save, checks on Ted DiBiase. Beautiful segment. This is good heat. I want to see these guys fight. I want to see Cameron Grimes get his hands on LA Knight. That is good heat. Big thumbs up for this segment, and such a contrast to a lot of those Raw segments where I just find myself wanting to turn off the TV and I don't care about anything. I care about this. I want to see Cameron Grimes get some payback on LA Knight. So, love this segment. 100% recommend checking it out. Colin Andrews says Ted can still take a bump better than most of these younger guys. Yeah, I was impressed. He took a nice flat back bump from that punch. Psycho Jet Black with the $2 super chat says LA Knight versus DiBiase Jr. undisputed $1 million title. Yeah, I mean, I'd like to see it. I'd like to see Cameron Grimes win the $1 million title, similar to what Virgil did winning the title from DiBiase at SummerSlam. Israel Diaz says, same great segment. We had Raquel Gonzalez and Dakota Kai against Kaden Carter and Casey Catanzaro. I believe she was out of action with an injury for a while. And before the match, you had Joe and Regal backstage separating them. Good match here. The faces, Casey and Kaden, did well. Got a lot of offense on. Casey did a 450 splash. Kai kicked out of that. And then Raquel did her part. Took both of them out on the outside. And then Dakota was able to hit the GTK to Casey to score the 1-2-3 victory. Good match here, and I'm glad to see Dakota picking up a win here. You know, she's kind of been in the background lately, so made sense for her to score the victory for her team and build her up a little bit. We had an Everrise promo hyping up a match for next week against Hit Row. And then we had Io Shirai come down to the ring for a promo. Basically just said she's back, and she talked about who her next opponent was going to be. But before she could reveal that, we had an interruption from Candice LeRae, who said that now that Io Shirai is a former champion, it's back to the line for her. And Candice said she still can't stand Io. And that's when Indy Hartwell attacked Io from behind. And they laid out Io on the announce table. But then Zoe Starks came down to make the save. No Dexter Lumis on this show, which always disappoints me a little bit because I like that storyline. But they did nothing with that on this particular show. Unless he was standing in some random place and I missed it. They've done stuff like that before. We had Johnny Gargano and Austin Theory backstage sarcastically being excited about Samoa Joe's return. And then we had another interesting face-off. Again, a possible teaser if Joe is cleared. We had Pete Dunne getting in Joe's face and just that little stare down. The two stare downs, the Joe Pete Dunne stare down and the Karrion Kross Joe stare down, like those alone, those were just well done because I want to see those matches now. And then it's a perfect example of less is more. Like sometimes you can just do a stare down and get people hyped up for a match. Another great example here with Dunne in addition to the beginning of the show. We had another vignette for the Diamond Mine, which will premiere on next week's show. And then we had our main event, which was Tommaso Ciampa teaming up with Thatcher against the grizzled young veterans. And you had MSK backstage eating some popcorn, wishing them luck. Tim Toothless Timmy jacked the popcorn and started eating it. As you would expect from a tornado tag, it started off wild. They fought on the ramp, and Ciampa and Thatcher were all riled up. They slapped each other around, and then they took turns running into the corner with running strikes. This was pretty cool. And then after the break, you had Ciampa hit the air raid crash. James Drake kicked out of that. And then there was a chop exchange on the apron. Then Drake came to the outside of the ring with a running forearm smash, Doomsday Device style to Ciampa. Ciampa took a great bump on the outside. And then Ciampa slammed Gibson on the announce table, made his comeback, and then got back in the ring after hitting the air raid crash to Gibson on the table. You had Ciampa and Thatcher double teaming Drake. Ciampa hit the air raid crash, and then they did the double submission, or not the air raid crash, the fairy tale ending, and then they did the double team submission. Drake instantly tapped out, and you had Ciampa looking at the camera saying, "This was our takeover." And then we went to the back. Regal and Joe shook hands. A successful first night of Joe being back, and Regal drove off as NXT went off the air. So great match to end the show. Lots of strong segments. Opening segment, the Ted DiBiase segment with LA Knight and Cameron Grimes, and then the main event. Those three segments were really awesome, in my opinion. TJS says still no Balor. He thinks that Balor's going back to the main roster, and I think you're probably right. Again, for all the reasons I said, he's been gone for a while. His entrance is something that the fans react to. It's an interactive experience. It's a good visual on television. Darren gives the show an A+. I'm not sure I would go that far, but it was one of the better NXTs in recent months. It held my attention, and I really enjoyed a lot of the segments on the show. I am going to go with an A-, but it was a really damn good NXT. I will say that much. Israel Diaz gives it an A. Mike B with a solid A. Ace and his familiar vlogs with an A++. Matt Helms with an A-. TJS with a B+. Same with Gamers on 100 B+. And Wade Kingston with an A. So lots of positive reactions to NXT. And we do have that special edition coming up in 3 weeks. That should be a lot of fun as we start to get back to the normal NXT that we remember with the fans. No more Thunderdome screens, and they're increasing capacity, and we'll see if they start going back on the road soon with NXT. Hopefully they do, because those crowds, like with AEW, those crowds really helped elevate the shows. So anyways, that's all I got for tonight. Stay tuned for Hell in a Cell predictions Wednesday night, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. TJS, did you mention the battery vignettes? I briefly saw one of them, and I don't know what that's about. Maybe somebody's returning. I've seen a few people speculate about that. And Darren says, do you think Walter will go to the main roster? I don't know if he's ever going to do that full time, but I could see him coming back for a big match once travel restrictions are eased. I could see him coming back for the SummerSlam takeover that's rumored. Anyways, guys, enjoy the rest of your week. I'll see you for the next video, the Hell in a Cell predictions. Take care, everybody. See you next time.